Oh, why, hello there. I'm so glad to have you join me today on my tier maker list here for Fire Emblem Engage. It's going to be a wonderful event and definitely off script for most of it. So I hope you enjoy it. This is all based on basically my playthrough of Fire Emblem Engage. So if you feel differently about any character that I put in this tier list, their placement, feel free to let me know. Just a heads up, I am not going into the meta game, going into statistics and stat growths, at least from, the development side of things. I don't care. It's only about what I experienced. Although I have heard some other people's opinions on certain characters, especially their personalities and their traits, and that's kind of played a factor into how I view some of these characters. But for the most part, this is really all just my take on them and my preferences, really. Feel free to disagree with me, but know that I'm not going to change my mind very easily. I've arranged the cast in terms of when they appear / actually join the party. This is based on when they officially become playable characters. So with that, let's start with Alir. To be honest, I wasn't too hot on Alir when I first started playing. I thought they were very generic, very boring to be quite frank. However, as the game went on and some of the story moments occurred and really just showed Alir's true character, I was really impressed with it, and I thought that Alir was a really great main character. No, I'm not gonna say he's the best one in Fire Emblem, but certainly better than just boring. So I appreciate that, and obviously he's a great unit. He's a player character unit. Not gonna be a terrible one, or at least shouldn't be. So with that all being said, I am going to put Alir in the B tier. Now I know that may be a little low for the main character, but honestly, before my first impressions, I probably would put it in the C tier. I might put him in the A tier. He's close. He's like teetering on the B and A tier. Go ahead and put female Alir there. And actually, female Alir, I like her design more than male Alir, but we'll put them on equal footing. You know what? I admire Alir's policy of no simping. He's not one to favor that. So, I'll put him up in the A tier. I respect their choices. Yeah, I respect that. Okay, next up is Vander. You always get a unit that is already upper class, It's already in the second tier in terms of class, but you eventually grow out of them and they kind of end up being on your bench. Well, Vander, I feel like, is the worst of all those kind of characters. You can think differently. Maybe you have a thing for silver foxes, old men silver foxes, like maybe that's your thing. But for me, I think Vander is pretty boring and not a great unit whatsoever. So I'm gonna put him in, D tier. Next up is Fram. Fram is very sweet, very cute, but also a little too obsessed with Alir. Not just a little bit, she's very much obsessed with Alir. President of the fan club, and just really likes to watch Alir, and some of those supports get a little awkward. I know that there's some sweetness to it, and they grow and learn. I get it, but Fram is just not makes me feel a little bit uncomfortable at times. But she's really cute, really sweet. I've heard that she actually has some pretty great stat growths later on, and I tried to level her up in order to see that, but it was just too little too late. I could see like the stat growths happening, but she was already too far behind that I couldn't really add her to the party and make it work out, which is unfortunate. But I have heard that she's an incredible unit in her own right. I do think she's sweet, and I like her other supports that don't have to do with Alir. Like, she bonds with people really well. I really like her support with Diamant and Boucheron. I think she has some good ones. So with that all being said, I'll put her in B tier. Next up is her brother Clan. Now Clan, for me, was amazing. He did not start off that way. He was very much weak, kind of like his sister at the beginning. Poor stat growths, just really couldn't do much. And then something clicked. Something changed inside of him. I just didn't care anymore. And he became this magic beast, for me at least. I ended up making him into a mage knight, I believe that's the class. And yeah, he just moved around the map, wrecking everybody who was weak to magic. And he could take a couple hits if needs be. So yeah, I mean, Clan out of nowhere. I did not expect him to last throughout the entire playthrough. He was super solid for me. I don't know if I like Clan's personality more than Fram. It's kind of a toss-up, but I appreciate Clan trying to improve himself and also being invested in some of his hobbies, like the pickle jar stuff. Yeah, so overall I think Clan is a great character, a great unit, and deserves to be in that A tier. Alfred, the Prince of Firenay. Oh, forgive me if I pronounce names wrong. I'm terrible at pronunciation. It's been a curse my entire life. Is it because I don't care? I don't like to think that, but I don't know. Anyway, Alfred. Alfred, he's a sweet guy. I appreciate the energy he brings and all that, but I'm gonna be honest, he kind of annoyed me. Especially when it was just him. And I did not like how obsessed with muscles he was. However, the game does a good way of trying to normalize that, or maybe trying to make it not seem as strange as I feel like it was. I don't think he's a terrible person or a terrible character. He's a very nice guy, a great future ruler of a kingdom, depending on some things. He does kind of come across as a bit annoying and maybe too much of a fanboy, you know? Which is kind of a trend among some of these earlier characters. And as a unit, he was okay. I stuck with him for a while, hoping that he would blossom into this amazing horse rider, but it just never happened. Not enough strength, I guess. Or you know what? I can't really even say what it was. He just didn't work out. And so with that said, as much as it pains me, I'm going to put him in C. Well, pains me, maybe more so much as it might pain other people who really like Alfred. But yeah, there are better lords out there. Next up, Etier. Really a great companion for Alfred. They both have the love for muscles, and I'm sure it was Alfred who instilled that upon her, if I'm remembering correctly. And I think she kind of takes it above even Alfred. But for whatever reason, I liked Etier more, and maybe that's just because I myself am a simp, but I think Etier's strength is that she's just a fun character to interact with. Whenever she speaks to someone, you know it's going to be a good time, even though it may be about muscles, it may have something to do with tea, it may be maybe a little aggravating with how she treats some of the other people. But eventually it becomes good, like they get to a good place. And I think that is worth the maybe awkward or frustrating moments or annoying moments she has about her muscles. And I really like her design. I think it's one of the cuter ones, and she gets to show off her abs. I think that's funny. I could have used her as my main archer if it wasn't for the king himself, but we'll get to him later. Etier, you're gonna go in the B tier. And you know what? I'm gonna put you above Fram for now. Oh, I can't do that. Oh, there we go. I'm also new to this tier making stuff, if you couldn't tell. Okay, next up is Boucheron. Boucheron, however it's supposed to be pronounced. This guy, I almost feel like he doesn't belong on the battlefield. Not just because he's a bit of a crybaby, but also he just doesn't have great stat growths for me. I feel like everyone just ran away from him, besides maybe Vander. Vander kept him company. Maybe he works out for you and in your amazing elite team, but not mine, unfortunately. And I don't think he has a terrible personality, not at all. I think he's a very nice guy. Fun interactions. Well, maybe fun interaction. I like his interaction with Etier and some of the other, like Fram, like that was a good one, but I think he's just maybe a little too boring, a little too bland. And also his head is incredibly tiny compared to his broad shoulders. You know what? I guess that is, no, there's no body shaming here. There's all types of body shapes, but it just looks kind of goofy in the game compared to everybody else. But I'm gonna put him in the D tier, unfortunately. But I do think he's better than Vander, so I will switch them. There we go. Up next is Saline. She is the personification of a flower, a blooming flower. And I love that you see that in her design, very much so. It's very loud, without being overbearing. And I like it. I like her design. I like her character. You know, especially in Japanese, I feel like she's this sweet girl, but also someone who knows how to take command, take charge, and could be a good ruler for a nation, really. Maybe even better than her brother, but you know, that's up for debate. Overall, character-wise, I really like it. Even though she is a little obsessed with tea, like every other support is about tea. It's not terrible. They get into good conversations that way. And as a unit, I think she's just mediocre. Like some pretty good stat growths, I think, but she's her stat growths are thinned out, if that makes sense. Basically, she grows in every category, more or less, particularly luck, but in every category she grows. She can attack physically and then do magic as well, but she's not great at either thing. So that does kind of bring her down in my book. So because of that, I'm going to put her in B tier. Chloe, the token Pegasus Knight of this cast. You always got to have that one unit who is the Pegasus Knight. And that usually ends up being one of my favorite units. I have very much a soft spot for Ingrid, Claire, Hinoka, Sida, the list goes on. Like I said, Chloe is one of my, I guess, favorite Pegasus Knights. She has her quirks about her, like the whole eating strange food things. I mean, look, I'm willing to try some things, but the foods that she would try even kind of made me a little repulsed. But, I mean, you know, it made for some funny conversations. I love her obsession with the storybook ending, you know, the fairy tales and whatnot. I thought that was really cute to see. Although I will say, she does come off as a pretty strong simp in that first support with Alir. It's like, how about I move my bed into your room? How about we buy dinner first, okay? Then we'll talk. So that did kind of put me off a little bit, but she more than makes up for it in various ways. As a unit, she suffers from the Pegasus curse of just not getting any strength, even though they really do need it. Regardless, I was able to work with that, and I think she actually was a pretty good, you know, secondary six-man type of situation. She could fill in if needs be, but she wasn't part of the main party, unfortunately. So because of that, I think I gotta put her in the A tier. I think I would have her in the S tier if I didn't have so many other great characters already. So for now, I put Chloe in the A tier, and yes, she almost did become my waifu. So there you go. And how can we forget our next one? Rui Shin! Rui! This man is a defense god. He just eats defense for breakfast, just grows up in it every level up, it feels like. And for the most part, he was a solid unit for me. Never really had much worry except for magic. Like any general knight or whatever, magic is not his friend. But, you know, as long as you keep him safe from that, he hardly takes any damage, really. And character-wise, I think he's a little funny. I really like him. And I think I could see him being a lot of people's favorites. He has this kind of quirk where he likes to people watch, which you hear about. It's like, oh, that's not odd. I do that all the time. Sure, you may. But to clarify, he's not just people watching. In the Japanese dub, he is specifically watching women. He likes to see a group of women talking and just being themselves. He likes to be a silent observer in that, which can be kind of viewed as, I don't know, stalker-ish, I suppose. But he's not really following one person or two. He's just silently observing just groups of women. But regardless, It does lead to some interesting conversations with him, but because of his charm and I think his great abilities, I put him in the S tier. He's that good. Another strong contender, John. He's the Donald or the Mozu of this game. Probably the best healer I have, key to some excellent moments in my playthrough. And as a magic user, just really kind of blows some others out of the water. So for me, he's S tier. Yunaka! Oh, hiya papaya! Yunaka grew on me exponentially. Like, I cannot believe how much I like this character based on how my first impressions of her were. When I first saw her, I was like, why are you in this universe with your star pieces in your hair and your weird quirky phrases? Like, this doesn't make sense for Fire Emblem. And to an extent, I still kind of feel that way. In a lot of sense, this game modernizes the characters a little too much, but that's for another conversation. Yunaka just grows in the depth of her character, in how great of a unit she is. At first, she wasn't really that great for me, like kind of struggled to get any sort of kills or damage. But as I put more time into her, she became this really crit god, and I just loved how much I could send her out into a battlefield and she would take care of it, dodging everything, critting it in most cases, and I loved it so much. Awesome. Put her with Lucina, at least that's what I did, and most things just never hit her. And you know what? She's the one for me. She's the one that I S-ranked in my playthrough, and she is the love of my life in this game. I love Yunaka. So glad to have her, and definitely one of my favorite characters in Fire Emblem, period. Up next is Anna, everyone's favorite mascot. This time around, IS decided to make her a child for whatever reason. I mean, I think it kind of breaks the mold that they had been going on before. It makes it a little more unique, so I appreciate that. But as is my philosophy with any time she's in the game, I tend not to use her as much, just because I want to focus on the new characters, which you could argue she's new here because of her different age and background, but just because I am who I am, I didn't really use her that much. But I have heard if you level her up in the right class, she is a pretty dang good unit. So she's got that going for her. And I do think she's sweet, and I like her story of trying to get back to her family in Brodia. Oh, no, Illusia. Was it Illusia? It was Illusia. But that still doesn't mean I love her, so I'm gonna put her in this C tier. And now we get into Brodia. Ooh, okay. I'm just gonna say right now, Brodia is probably my favorite area, just for the great units we get. Brodia forever, baby. And to start off, we're gonna go with Alchrist. Oh my gosh, Al. Al is the clutch king. I can't count how many times he just came in against a unit, crit, dead. All right, what's next? You know, the way he plays is totally different from his personality, which I love. You know, just a great guy. And I love how much he improves himself. And you can really see that in his supports and interactions, particularly with his retainers and his brother. Oh, I love that support with his brother. It's just so heartwarming. Brotherly love, baby. It's great. So with all that being said, I gotta put him in the S tier. I mean, you know, if I had a double S tier, I would probably put him up there with Yunaka, but for now, I'm good with that placement. Alchrist, if you're not using Alchrist, I mean, what do you have against winning? You know, that's all I'm saying. Right after Alchrist, we have Lapis, and Lapis is definitely a character that I kind of fell in love with on first sight. I really like her design and her personality. She's a knight, but she's really from the countryside, so she tries to hide that background, and that's kind of endearing in and of itself. I just wish she was a better unit. She just really struggled to take off. There are better swordsmen out there that do the job better than she does, at least in my playthrough. But that does not mean I do not like her. It means that I wish she could have been better. But because I love her so much, I'm putting her in the A class. Citrine, like her retainer companion, has a great personality that I'll talk about, but unfortunately is just not a great magic user. wasn't fast enough. She didn't have enough dexterity to attack twice, and it just led her in the dust when it came to other characters who had more magic power or who could attack twice. Attacking twice is key, guys. And she just really couldn't do it. That being all said, I loved her regal attitude, but also one that is endearing and really not putting herself above other people. Like, she clearly doesn't understand how the commoners think in some ways, thinks that money can solve anything, but she learns from that. She learns that that's not really the case. And she also understands that she herself, aside from the money her family has, she's not that strong. And she wants to get better, and she feels guilty about not being strong. And I like that depth. So Citrine is a character that I wish could have stayed longer with me. And I think she's really one of the best characters in the game. One of the best, written characters in the game. But I had to put her in A tier because of that. If she was a better unit, she would definitely be in the S tier. Probably the same with Lapis. I don't know who I like better, Lapis or Citrine. They're both so good. I probably put Citrine better because I do think she's just slightly better written. But I love Lapis's design. I think she's really cute. Next up is, oh my gosh, the king himself. Well, future king himself, Diamant. Ah, this guy. I mean, look at him. He's a true bro. Like, stoic, and he doesn't mince words, but I like how nice he is at the same time. The true personification of masculinity. I think he's great. In the same way I like Ike, I like Diamant a lot. And like his brother, he's a beast. I mean, they excel at different things, but I would not go into a major battle without either of those brothers. Diamant is a wrecking machine who will take any hit. So because of all that, I am putting Diamant in the S tier. And actually, we are going to put him above Louis. But a little bit behind Alchrist, because I just have so many good clutch memories from Alchrist. And now we get to a little bit of a bummer. The sore side of the Brodia club, Amber. Yeah, Amber. I'm just gonna put you in D tier and we're gonna move on. No, I'm sorry. Like, if you really like goofy characters who like alpacas, Amber's you're the one for you. I think my biggest reason for putting him in the D tier is that I just didn't really use him. Maybe if I got to know him better, I'd be like, oh my gosh, he's S tier material. I tried using him a couple times, but he just really failed epically. Couldn't do anything. So I had to give up on him in favor of others. And that's why I placed him so low in the D tier. That's where I'm putting Amber. I'm sorry, Amber fans. Maybe another playthrough, I'll give him a shot. More of a shot, but yeah, not this time. Okay, after that kind of disappointment, let's get back to the great Brodia bros, or Brodia gals, Brodia people, because we have Jade. Jade, I love Jade. I love her design so much. Her armor and the red and green coloring just works so well. I love her helmet and how it has the hole for her hair. I don't know how practical that is at all, but it makes it really nice. It makes it look really good. Similar to Diamant, she's very stoic and probably a little more soft-spoken than Diamant, but I think it shows to how much thought she puts into things and her as a writer where she can truly express herself. I really like that twist. I was so shocked to find out that she writes books. Not just books, but comedic ones. And she writes masterpieces. It's phenomenal. I love it. She was a good tank. She really couldn't do much damage at times and had a hard time actually landing her hits. But I think she makes up for it as a tank defense unit. And again, her personality is great. So because of all that, I'm putting her in A tier. Who do I put her? I'm gonna put her right here. Okay, moving on to Illusia. We have Ivy, Princess Ivy. You know, when I first saw Ivy in the trailers, I kind of had this feeling she would be the next Camilla. As if. Granted, she very much simps for the player character, but it's not in the older sister kind of vibe, which is what I was worried that would be the case. She's much more of a troubled princess who wants to keep appearances, but also wants to rely on other people. And I like the depth that she has, and her story arc is great with her sister, and I think that she is also one of the best written characters in the game. On top of the fact that I think she might be the best magic user in the game as well, at least in terms of power. She just has so much power behind her tomes that when you add her ability to move around the map freely, she's probably one of my best units. So without a doubt, she's S tier. I think she's slightly behind the Brodia folks, Yunaka and all them, but definitely in the top tier of units for me. And now for her retainers, Zelkov. This is unfortunate for Zelkov because when I got him, I had started to really like Yunaka, and I don't like having too many of the same kinds of units, so he just didn't end up really doing anything. I think I only sent him out once, maybe. And his personality is not my favorite either. He definitely kind of goes for the brooding, I like to play Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy VII type of player. He looks like he would be designed by Nomura. I feel like I'm offending an entire group of people, but he feels like Nomura designed him, raised him, and said, have all these belts. Wear as many belts as possible, and you'll be good. What about keys? Ooh, keys, nice. I like keys too. You can use that as a sword. No, well, we probably get copyright for that. So he has like a ton of keys as well. Like that's his thing. That's just me. I don't think he's as bad as Amber, so I'll put him above Vander as well, because I think those two are boring. The other Ivy retainer, Kagetsu, it's kind of take or leave for me. Great unit. I think if I would have kept him in my party, he would have been fantastic. Crit most of the time. But as a character, I kind of struggled to really vibe with him. He's maybe like too much of a nice, eccentric, and outgoing guy. I mean, that sounds like great things to be, but the introvert in me just kind of clashes with the extroverted people a little bit. But again, I think he's a pretty good unit, so I'm going to put him in B tier. Moving on to Somme, we got the Prince Fogado. Fogado seems like a fun guy, someone who likes to party and, really just have a lot of fun with life. But also he takes things seriously, protecting the region of Somme where he can with his friends and everything. But I think his biggest weakness is the fact that he just sucks as a character. No, as a unit. I mean, his personality is fine. I think he has some good supports. I tried using it, but he just stinks. He's not great. So because of that, I got to put him in C tier. Now, Pandreo, on the other hand, I'm willing to put in the B tier, because while he may be a party animal himself, I think that he's also looking for the best of other people, wants to help them get out of their comfort zone, really helpful in that sense. And I think he's just a really good guy. And as a unit, if I didn't have Jean, I probably would have him as my mage or my healer. But because of Jean and other units who could heal, I just didn't need him. To complement those two party boys, we have Bunei. Bunei, I didn't really use him at all. I think if I would have gotten him earlier, he could have been a pretty good unit for me, but unfortunately, it just did not work out that way. And I think he's kind of boring. Yeah, he cooks, but, he barely cooks. Whenever he cooked for me, terrible food. I always had to cross my fingers that he wouldn't give me something terrible. So because of that, I'm going to put him in the D tier, even below Vander, but not below Amber. Timera, the Princess of Somme. I think she's just a really sweet, fun character. If you don't like Timera, why do you hate happiness? Why do you hate fun? She's just all about expressing herself and letting other people express themselves as well. But at the same time, similar to her brother, helping her people and, really trying to do what's best for the country. I like her kind of cleverness, even though she may seem like someone who just likes to have fun all the time. She's really doing it for her people. So I appreciate that. As a unit, at first she kind of struggled to get into a groove of thing, but once she got Sandstorm, and finally got enough defense and dexterity to make it worth it, she really started to pick up, and I was happy to have her on my team. So because of that, I put her in the top of the A tier. Besides her is Marin. Marin is a cool knight. I don't think she's a great unit later on in the game. When you first get her, she was really OP for me. Like, she was dodging everything, taking out people left and right, getting all these crazy level ups. Well, at least, getting level ups. But that's where it ended, because her stat growths just were not good enough, and everyone started to pass her. So it's very unfortunate, because I like the wolf unit class paired with the thief stuff, but unfortunately she just couldn't keep up with everybody else. Because she's not a great unit, I'm going to put her in B tier. I mean, she's a good unit, just not great. Now Panette. Oh, Panette, the crit queen. Gosh, I love Panette. Panette, I as soon as I got her, I could tell that she was just going to be this glass cannon fiend. And actually, she's not really that much of a glass cannon, because she could take a couple hits or two. She has enough HP for it. She just doesn't have a whole lot of defense. But she will make you pay if you let her attack. If you get her the right weapon, killer axe, then she will crit 9 times out of 10. Okay, maybe more like 7 times out of 10. She will crit. And it's pretty great, pretty satisfying. She just wrecks everybody. I love Panette so much. She saved the day towards the end quite a few times. Same with Alcris. So because of that, I gotta put her in S tier. I'm putting her above Diamant, but do I put her above Alcris? I think I gotta put her close to him. No one can pass Yunaka, because that's my waifu S tier. Dibs. Panette is close with Alcris in my book. Moving back to Illusia, we have Hortensia. How do I put this? She definitely rubbed me the wrong way at first. Like, first impressions. What is this VTuber doing in my Fire Emblem game? Not just VTuber, it's like a J-pop idol VTuber. I just felt her design, while fun and colorful, just did not fit this world, in my opinion. But that's okay. I got used to it. And I think her personality is, I think it's unique in this cast, in that she thinks she's the cutest thing ever and wants to keep it that way. So she just tries to have competitions with people, or learns how she could be the cutest. But there's more to it than that. There's more to her backstory and who she is as a character, going all the way to her mother. And I really love that side story. However, she's bogged down by the fact that she's just really not a great offensive unit. She can hold her own as a mage, of course. Although even then, I think I have better mages. Like John is a way better healer. Pandreo is a way better healer. She's more of a support, can get you to places really quick. So I appreciate that class. But in the end, she just couldn't make it in my team. And because of that, I have to put her a little lower. And by lower, I mean the B tier. I'll put her, yeah. No. Oh, no. Yeah. Okay, I'm good with this. And now we get our dancer, which when we were playing the game, I was kind of worried there wouldn't be a dancer. It's like, why? We've gotten so far. Where's the dancer? Then we finally got it. Got him. Seedoll, or I have a hard time remembering his name. I either call him like Seedrall, Seedle, but I think it's Seedoll. Seedoll is the dancer for this game, and he was pretty useful only because of the dancing. He's just not a great unit otherwise, at least for me. That being said, I think he has some fun supports. His and Yunaka's really got me laughing, and also I think was pretty sweet to see them kind of bond over a hobby. And there's some good things to be said about him, but at the end of the day, he just wasn't a great unit, and it was only there just to keep dancing. You can make anybody else a dancer, and they'd be just as useful, if not more. So because of that, I'm gonna put him in C tier, but I'll put him at the top of C tier. Now we have Rosado. Rosado's really cute, and I like the twist that he's actually a guy. But I just didn't find him very useful as a unit. At the beginning he was fine, but he just didn't make the cut, unfortunately. maybe if I put more time and effort into him, he would have been really good. But I like his design. I think what his wyvern looks like really matches his own design. I like how they made that, especially for him. And I think he does a good job of supporting other people and lifting them up rather than breaking them down, which I appreciate. So, because of that, I'm going to put him in the B tier. I'll put him above Cuckett. The other retainer to Hortensia, we have Goldberry. Goldberry, when I first see her design, I'm like, oh my gosh, I think I'm going to like her. But then you see her personality, and it's like, maybe not. Maybe, I'm getting red flags here. And to an extent, I think those red flags are warranted. But I think because of her personality, a lot of her supports end up being quite funny and enjoyable. But she really excelled as a hero. I loved the many moments she had on the battlefield, taking hits and then dishing them out. It was pretty great, and she also came in clutch. So I gotta put her in A tier. I'll put her below Clan, because Clan is just great for me. Next up, we have some of the older folks. Lyndon. I'm gonna be honest with you, Lyndon didn't, speak wildly to me. As soon as I saw him, I was kind of disappointed. It's like, oh, old person. Oh gosh. I guess I'm a little ageist, maybe. Don't tell Twitter that. No, he's fine. A little frustrating in recruiting him, but I don't know. I didn't really have the motivation to really put him into the party. But I have heard he's really good, so I can't put him in the basement. Well, I can. I'm not gonna put him at the lowest of the low. So I'll put him in between Boucheron and Zelkov. Saphir kind of came too late into the game for me to really want to bond with her. No offense to her glorious silver hair. I really like silver hair. But yeah, too little too late, unfortunately. So I'm gonna have to put her in the C tier. I really didn't get to know much of her character, so that's on me, but she just came too late into the party. Nothing about her really struck me, so because of that, I'm gonna put her in the C tier. Next up, we have Mavier. He kind of has the middle-aged vibe going for him, but for all I know, he's probably 28. Classic anime. It was really great to see him join our side in the end. I kind of had a feeling he would do it from the very beginning. Although I also kind of thought Marnie would too, but that made her moment all the more tragic, I suppose. But yeah, how he joins is pretty good. But you know what? I think I liked him better when he was a villain than I did when he joined the party. He's still great and all, but a lot of his interesting stuff happens when he is on the other side. Maybe that's just because I didn't put enough time into him and see all his supports, but he did kind of become bland towards the end there. And he also suffers from the classic good or bad guy turned good tropes, basically he's a beast when he's the boss, but when he joins your side he's like a pansy. He's not that great. I mean, he had some moments. He wasn't terrible, but I'd still put him in the C tier, above Anna. And last but certainly not least, we have Vale. Oh, I love this girl. I think she has one of the best stories in this game. I mean, she's a key player in the story. I really loved her struggles and how she joins the team. I think it's pretty great. And her personality is just so cute and heartwarming. Everybody's little sister in a way, and I really like that. Reminds me of Flane from Three Houses, just a little bit. Maybe because of the whole spoilers. Anyway, I think they're very sweet. Vale as a unit is pretty strong, pretty good, and I think she holds up her own if you play your cards right. So I'm going to put her in the A tier. I'm going to put her above Timera. Okay, so that is the list we have right now. I'm actually going to go through it right now. We have quite a bit of A tier, but I'm pretty satisfied, and technically these guys are supposed to be 1 anyway, so that I'm pretty good with that. You know what? I like Chloe better than Timera, just a little bit. Yeah, I like Alir. I'm gonna put Alir there. I think that's good. I'm good with that. B tier. No, I'm putting her farther down. Yeah, right there. That's a good place for her. C tier. Yeah, I think that's good. And then D tier. I mean, with the D tier, like, this is the only one that really matters. Sorry, Amber fans. Okay, with that, we have the list. This is the official Nintendo City Fire Emblem Engage all playable unit tier list. It is up on tiermaker.com if you want to try it for yourself. Thank you so much for watching this with me. It's been a great playthrough. Just speaking of the Fire Emblem Engage playthrough, some frustrating moments in this game, but in the end, I came away really loving this cast. And something that I think I've discovered is, unlike some other Fire Emblem games, I think there's a lot of depth underneath these characters. They may seem pretty one note on the surface level, but once you get to really know them and see their quirks and who they really are, I think you can find characters that you really like and can really get attached to. So good job to the Fire Emblem Engage team. Thank you so much for this wonderful game. But the greatest character of all the Fire Emblem Engage characters has to be Saline!